It's a great pleasure to welcome Liberty to What's Next. And this particular season, it's really great to have you with us. And we're going to start our first interview off with Tom Crotty, who is the lead specialist for technical marketing at Liberty. Firstly, Tom, how are you doing? And thank you for joining us.
Yeah, very well, thanks. Thank you very much for having me. Always great to join.
Listen, you guys have been around for a long, long time. I mean, I remember growing up and my father taking out a policy and looking after my future with Liberty. Nothing has changed. And you recently published your claim stats for 2022, and that report was pretty interesting. And I'd like to know, firstly, why did you decide to make this information widely available? Because that hasn't really been the case in the past, has it?
No, it's definitely a report that we like to share, but predominantly we do share it more with advisors. They use it a lot in their discussions with clients. But I think there's also value in sharing that type of information with the broader public who don't have advisors and possibly are thinking of getting an advisor. So it is something we do publish. It has been around for about 10, 12 years, I think, in total that we've published it. We publish the total numbers that we've paid, but we also then publish the reasons for claims. So whether it's a cancer diagnosis or a heart attack diagnosis, and then we try to split it a bit according to age, gender, other demographic factors, just to give a little bit of insight into what our claims are telling us, if there are any interesting trends that are coming out of it. And also importantly, the reasons we don't pay claims. If there are any reasons we decline claims, then we do believe in transparency. So we do disclose why there have been declines in claims and the percentage of those.
Okay, but listen, I love stats and I find these statistics absolutely fascinating. And one thing for what that I found quite interesting in the Stats 22 report, that it showed a significant decrease in personal risk cover claims. Why was this the case?
Yeah, and a significant decrease. So in 2021, we paid out around 10.1 billion Rand in personal risk cover claims, and that dropped off around 30% to about 6.98 billion in 2022, predominantly driven by the drop in life cover claims. So we saw life cover claims drop around 38%, so a significant drop off, and effectively mirroring what we see in society. At the beginning of 2022, the whole of South Africa cancelled COVID and sort of said, this is it, we're done. Masks are done, lockdowns are done, everyone's going to get back to living life. And the numbers, the excess deaths from 2021 to 2022 also dropped. And we've also seen it in our claims numbers. Those have also dropped. So predominantly the tailing off of the COVID-19 pandemic, we think, is driving that.
Wow, that's absolutely fascinating. And I guess you can draw so many different stats to that, right? I mean, the vaccines, whether vaccines, did they make a big difference as well to those death claims, et cetera, et cetera. But that is quite a drop, and it's astonishing. And yeah, absolutely. I think COVID, you hit the nail on the head, was definitely the reason for that. And really 2022 was the beginning of returning to normal. I know with conferences and just people getting back to their normal lives following 2021, which was quite a horrible year, in 2020 as well. But 2022 was back to normal after COVID-19 and the pandemic that shook all of us, right? Now, with coronavirus no longer being this huge medical crisis that it had been before, what replaced it amongst your most common claim types? Did something else emerge after COVID-19?
Well, not exactly emerge. So COVID-19 came up 2020, 2021. We saw the sudden increase in claims related or directly related to COVID-19. But your old existing causes, so cancer, cardiovascular diseases, disorders, strokes, those all were in the system. Going through COVID didn't mean that those didn't happen. So we've seen cancer come up as the number one cause of claim. It makes up around 28% of all our claims. So a significant proportion of claims for cancer. Cardiovascular, second. We had respiratory disorders, which included a lot of the COVID-19 claims that were coming out of 2022. But then interestingly, we started seeing other claims come out. So stroke was number 4, but then renal disorders came in at number 5. And it's the second order impact of the pandemic starting to show where you had other chronic illnesses, not necessarily directly COVID, but underlying causes of COVID starting to come out.
Yeah.
And also other interesting trends also emerging from that.
That's absolutely fascinating. And it's interesting that cancer's right up there, right? And I often wonder to myself, when you look at those cancer stats, and I guess they're reflective as a percentage that, it's pretty much the same wherever you go in every country, how many of those stats are preventative? In other words, that if you had gone for that preventative test, like as a male, if I had gone for a prostate test where I should be going every single year, that would have been detected, and that's one of the cancers that's very, very much treatable. I wonder how many of those cancers could have been prevented, and breast cancer is another one, of course. But I guess that's diving deep into those stats. I don't know if you have those kind of stats or not.
Well, I think you're speaking to exactly one of the interesting insights that's come out of our claims department, is that what we have seen specifically on cancer is that we've seen individuals claiming for cancer coming at a much later staging of cancer, so a much higher severity, and directly related to missing those preventative screenings, not going to the doctor. If you're in lockdown, you can't go to hospitals because they're treating COVID patients. You're so focused on COVID that you're not thinking about other preventative screenings.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're starting to see, is that we've seen a significant jump in claims, but we've also seen the severity of the claims being quite high. And that's also that second order impact of the pandemic coming through.
That's so interesting. Are there any other interesting trends that you've picked up and identified from your 2022 data?
Yeah, I'll touch on 2 specific topics. I think the one being on our retrenchment claims. So through 2022, we did see a drop in retrenchment claims. So spiked in 2021, where we saw quite a significant, I think it was around 7.2% of all claims in 2021 were retrenchment driven. That dropped to around 4% in 2022. So showing that the economy is starting to come out of it. You're not seeing as many claims for retrenchment coming through. However, that doesn't include the latest bout of stage 6 load shedding that came in towards the end of 2022. And you would expect that to then maybe increase again in 2023, which is a bit concerning, and showcases exactly how tough the economy in South Africa is at the moment. And interestingly, also, or more worryingly, is the mental illness claims that we've seen come through. So mental illness, definitely a hot topic that's become more and more abundant around through COVID, coming out of COVID, people affected by mental illnesses. I think the stats from global reinsurers say that almost 1 in 3 individuals has been recognized or diagnosed with some sort of mental illness coming out of the pandemic. And we're seeing that in our claims numbers. So although our life cover claims for suicides, those have dropped off from 2021 to 2022, we did see a drop off in suicide-related claims. What we have seen, though, is an increasing trend since 2020 of your income protection claims. So anyone who's got cover where they're covering their ability to earn an income and they suffer a mental disorder, depression, anxiety, such that they cannot actually even go to work and do their job. We've seen a worrying trend where that has increased over time. So that's gone up from around 5% in 2020,
Wow.
and it's up at around 9.2% in 2022. So it is significant and a worrying trend upwards.
Gee, I mean, I was just thinking as you're going through those trends, Tom. I mean, they're absolutely fascinating because you get an insight into what the state of the nation is almost like. What kind of mood people are in, what stresses people are undergoing. You mentioned, for example, your claims regarding to unemployment, and there's a direct correlation between the stress of load shedding and all sorts of other things. And you touched on mental health, and it's really fascinating to just dive deep into these interesting insights, and I really find them quite fascinating. The one thing you promoted quite a bit was this Claims Explorer alongside the report. Now, I haven't heard of it before. What is it and why is it so valuable?
Yeah, so Claims Explorer, definitely a big tool that advisors use in speaking to clients because it identifies exactly what type of individuals are claiming that look or are the same as you effectively. So you can Google it, search Liberty Claims Explorer, you're able to access it. It's not limited to a specific bunch of individuals. Anyone can access it, and then you can play with it. So it tells you the total claims we paid, but if you want to see how claims are different according to your age, according to your gender, you click the different toggle buttons, and then it'll take you through to a page which gives you, these are the types of claims people are claiming based on your age group, based on your gender. You see the percentage that are claiming for life cover, you see the percentages that are claiming on critical illness cover or on income protection, and you can see the different claim causes coming through like that. So it is quite interesting to see, because you often have this misconception that claims on life insurance policies only happen to the older individuals, whereas actually it affects individuals across all ages, and there are claims coming through across all ages and across genders.
Absolutely fascinating. So, I mean, if we look at these trends from 2022, and I guess we can gain quite a few insights. I mean, you touched on mental health, and I think that's such an important one where people should look out for other people and talk to other people if you are experiencing mental health issues. Talk to your medical professional, etc. But I guess where I'm going with this is, what advice can we get here for South Africans looking up to take up health and life insurance in 2023? Because we can certainly learn a lot about these results in 2022 and hopefully improve a lot of the things, the negative downward trends that we saw in these results. And what advice do you have for South Africans looking up to take up those health and life insurances in 2023?
Well, I think the big thing is to partner with a financial advisor. They understand the full big picture of your finances. And often people think, well, I'll go see a financial advisor and then immediately my financial journey is done, I'm sorted. But it's actually a long-term process. So partnering with a financial advisor for the long term, going on that full journey to get financial freedom will take time. But the financial advisor can guide you based on what your needs are, what your budget is, what type of cover you need, whether it's health insurance, whether you need some life insurance, your investments, all of it in how it packages together. It's very key that you're able to articulate all of that. And especially as you go through life and your needs change. As you go through life, you maybe have children, maybe the children do leave the house, your life insurance needs change. And the financial advisor is able to adapt your cover over that period of time to do that. One of the key insights coming out of post-pandemic world is that people are a lot more aware of their mortality, more aware of their morbidity. They're a lot more aware that they're not invincible. And something like a pandemic can hit at any time. And you need to have the appropriate stuff, whether it's an emergency savings fund set up, or if it's insurance cover because you can't work and you're stuck in hospital. So that was a key thing. So people are a lot more aware of it, but they're not necessarily aware of where to find the right type of cover. And that's where a financial advisor can link you to the right type of product. And then people are looking for certainty in the world that we live in today, where everything is uncertain. You don't know when the interest rate's going to go up. You don't know if it's ever going to go down. There's a lot of uncertainty, not only in South Africa, across the world. People are looking for certainty. They're looking for something that does what it's meant to do. And I think financial advisor can make sure that from a financial planning point of view, you know what the outcome will be when you get into one of those situations.
Wow, those are such great insights and lots of stuff to think about. And I mean, I was just talking to somebody the other day that had taken out some policies, in their 20s, their late 20s. They weren't married at the time, and they didn't look at it for 10 years. They just said, that was my life then. And certainly your life changes in 10 years. You get married, you have kids, you've got different responsibilities. We all need to relook at these things, on a yearly basis. I like to meet with my financial advisor, go through things, see where I am, gauge where I am, but you can't leave it for long, extended periods of time, as you highlighted there. Tom Crotty, it's been absolutely fascinating chatting to you, and I guess we'll see that research that you released for 22 in the next few months into 23. We'll get 2023's results as well, so it's going to be interesting to compare, 2022 to 2023 and where we're heading and what sort of trends we pick up from that. So, Tom, absolutely fascinating chatting to you, lead technical specialist for technical marketing at Liberty. Tom, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time and welcome to What's Next.
Thank you.